Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for our cash tag segment. For that, let's bring in our next guest. It's going to be Andy Swan, co-founder of Likefolio. Welcome back to the show, Andy.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, so the previous high flyer of Celsius Holdings, you guys were spot on. I remember talking about this stock in 2022, 2023. It's just fallen off a cliff, down over 50% from year-ago levels. What's going on with this company? Do you guys still have decent data on this one, or is it starting to fail also?
Yeah, I would say it did fail, but now we're seeing a really strong resurgence in Celsius. If we, really, I think the data kind of speaks for itself on this one. If we look at the web visits versus stock price for Celsius brands, you can see on the blue line, really looking at the 90-day moving average, we're seeing an explosion in consumer interest in what Celsius is putting out there, something that we haven't seen in terms of increasing demand for quite some time. And it's really happened over the last 2 or 3 months. So we think that the company will have reason to be pretty optimistic about what's going on with the consumer, maybe got their footing back a little bit as the stock has recovered as well. But the main thing I think that's going to be the story here is, Celsius's acquisition of Louisville's own Alani Nu company. The Alani drinks are extremely popular energy drinks, especially with a very key demographic, and that's women and young teenagers, female. They've got that market pretty much locked up. If you look at their marketing, their follower base is about 92% young women. And so this brand is in exactly the right spot. They're targeting essentially a demographic that the energy drinks tend to have overlooked. If you think about Rockstar and Red Bull and Monster Energy, they've really gone after men and young men and kind of extreme sports enthusiasts and kind of left the ladies out to pasture, where Celsius, through its health conscious approach, and Alani, through its zero sugar approach, has really kind of embraced that female demographic in a really compelling way that is resonating with consumers, and we think will resonate with investors as well very soon, because these two together makes up a pretty nice powerhouse to go to the distribution centers with and to get that coveted shelf space. So we're starting to get bullish again on Celsius here.
Celsius and Alani Nu, they're basically 15.4% of the market. That's a big chunk for two relatively new companies. And so that is also added to what's adding to their growth right now, which is international. So that's helping them. There's a lot of reasons to be excited about this company, but I mean, the focus with Alani Nu and women and wellness and fitness and that energy, this has got a whole different tone to it. It feels like a Facebook and Instagram kind of a purchase where they really added to the company by making this purchase.
Yeah, I think that's a really great analogy. I think that, Alani is kind of that under the radar player, privately held, now doing, I think, over $1 billion in sales. And like you said, they're picking up that market share really quickly. And we can see that in our data. We can see that they're outperforming all of the peers in terms of consumer adoption. And I think that they've got a nice tailwind from these, GLP fat loss, weight loss drugs that this type of product fits exactly into that lifestyle, which is a very growing, very popular lifestyle. And so I really think that Celsius and Alani as a combined entity is in kind of the right place at the right time once again, after having, lost their footing clearly in 23 and especially 2024. So I think 2025 is looking up and to the right from a consumer adoption perspective of this company's brands, and we think Wall Street will be following suit.
Yeah, that they announced that last February at their last earnings event, the acquisition of Alani Nu for $1.65 billion net of everything else. So maybe that's the lift here, Andy. But when you look at this and just your data, are there any changing habits within the space where, it was really hot for years, now there's too many brands out there? I mean, are you still seeing adoption from people that are still going to these products, or is that starting to wane as a whole, just due to maybe competition or changing habits?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is that, there was a period of time there, let's say 2020 through 2023, where the energy drink shelf space as a whole was growing, growing, growing. And now I think we've kind of reached that saturation point because in every gas station, every supermarket, et cetera, there's only so much space on the shelf. And energy drinks have taken an enormous portion of that away from typical soda drinks and waters, et cetera. So we feel like that's probably reached a saturation point, and now it really is a very bloody battle for who's going to control what that now confined shelf space is. And so we like where Celsius is, we like where Alani is in this battle, but the days of ever expanding distribution opportunities are probably behind this industry, and now it is kind of one of those classic who's going to win type of stories rather than a rising tide lifting all boats.
What's your earnings score going into this one? Because the stock is actually up 30% so far this year, but it was trading $21 just a few months ago. What's your earnings score in this one?
Yeah, our data shows that this balance is very justified. We think that there's more in the tank. There's every reason for the company to be positive with their outlook with these two brands combined. So we have a positive score on this. We'd want to be risk defined. We'll leave that up to you guys because there is, like you said, there's been a bounce. We'll see if it can hold, but we think it will, and we think that the stock has plenty of room higher.
All right, great stuff. Great data as always, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that's Andy Swan, co-founder at Likefolio, breaking down Celsius.